You've already heard it 100 times. Just change. Become a different person. Start acting like the future version of you. And every time someone says it, something in you tightens. Because you've tried. You've made the lists. You've felt the motivation. You've even lasted a few days. Then you wake up one morning and realize you're still the same person, just more disappointed in yourself. So what's actually stopping you? You've already heard it 100 times. Just change. Become a different person. Start acting like the future version of you. And every time someone says it, something in you tightens. Because you've tried, you've made the lists, you've felt the motivation, you've even lasted a few days. Then you wake up one morning and realize you're still the same person, just more disappointed in yourself. So what's actually stopping you? It's not that you don't know what to do. Most of us know. We know the habits. We know the conversations we need to have. We know the work we've been avoiding. We know the version of ourselves we've been protecting instead of growing. The problem isn't information. The problem is that the person you currently are is still in charge of the change. And that person has reasons, quiet, stubborn, half-conscious reasons, for staying exactly who they are. Think about the last time you really tried to change something that mattered. Not a surface habit, something deeper. How you show up in relationships, how you handle discomfort, how you talk to yourself when no one is watching. At first there was energy, maybe even hope. Then resistance showed up, not always loud. Sometimes it was just a soft pull back toward the familiar, toward the version of you that already knew how to survive. That version has been running the show for years. It knows your patterns. It knows how to keep you safe by keeping you small. And when you start trying to become someone else, it doesn't just resist, it panics. Because in its logic, change looks like death. And in a way, it is. Becoming the person you want to be almost always requires letting parts of the current you die. The excuses, the identity built around struggle, the quiet agreements you've made with yourself that, this is just who I am. Those parts don't leave politely, they cling, they argue, they make the new path feel unnatural, even wrong. So most people stop, not because they're weak, but because the cost of continuing feels higher than the cost of staying the same. At least the current pain is familiar. Here's the part that rarely gets said clearly. You will not change by adding more positive thoughts on top of an unchanged identity. You change when the old identity becomes more uncomfortable than the work of building a new one. That usually doesn't happen through motivation. It happens through honest confrontation. You have to look at the parts of yourself you've been protecting and ask, what are these parts still costing me? Not in theory, in real time. What relationships are thinner because of them? What opportunities keep sliding past because you're still negotiating with the old version? What quiet regret is building while you wait to feel ready? Most people wait for the old self to agree to the change. It never will. The only way through is to start acting like the person you want to become, even while the old self is still screaming. Especially then. That doesn't mean faking confidence or forcing positivity. It means making decisions from the future identity instead of the current one. When the old self wants to delay, the new one starts anyway. When the old self wants to protect the image of who you've been, the new one chooses the action that makes that image obsolete. This is uncomfortable for a reason. You're not just changing behavior. You're starving an old identity of the oxygen it needs to stay alive. And yes, it will feel like loss. There will be moments where you miss the old certainty, even the old pain, because at least it was known. But something else starts happening if you keep going. The new actions begin to create evidence, small at first, then harder to ignore. You start trusting yourself a little more because you stopped abandoning the plan the moment it got hard. You start noticing that the old emotional reactions still appear, but they no longer run the entire day. You realize the person you were trying to become was never some distant, perfect figure. It was just the version of you that finally stopped negotiating with the parts that wanted to stay small. The world does not change first. You do, not in one dramatic moment, in the quiet, repeated decision to stop protecting the version of yourself that was never going to get you where you say you want to go. You already know what needs to happen. You've known for a while. The only remaining question is whether you're willing to let the person who keeps delaying it finally lose. Because your life will not rearrange itself around the person you're still trying to remain. It only starts moving when you become someone the old life can no longer hold. Real change is not a matter of more motivation or better strategies. It requires the death of the identity that has been quietly protecting the status quo. Until that identity becomes more uncomfortable than the work of becoming someone new, the same patterns will continue, no matter how clearly you understand what needs to change. So, 1. Knowing what to do is rarely the bottleneck. The real resistance comes from the current identity that feels threatened by the change. 2. Lasting change usually feels like loss before it feels like growth, because parts of the old self have to be starved of attention and protection. 3. Waiting to feel ready or for the old self to agree keeps you stuck. Action has to begin while the resistance is still present. 4. Every time you choose the new behavior over the familiar one, you create evidence that the old identity is no longer the only option. 5. The life you want cannot fully form around the person you are still protecting. Something has to give. Your life will not rearrange itself around the person you're still trying to remain.